And I mean, speaking on your successful business, you're reaching more than 20 million people.
Correct.
How long did it take? That's 20 million, by the way. Almost half of the South African population. How long did it take you to actually get to that level?
3 years. 3
Wow.
years. Why? Because look, I mean, the way we grew the business is because
Awesome. Patrick Palmi, firstly, thank you for being on my show. I bumped into. I really appreciate the time.
Appreciate it.
And yeah, it's something I've been wanting to do actually for quite a while. I had you like in my Excel sheet in terms of people to interview, and I've been looking forward to this. And firstly, happy birthday for yesterday. 30 really looks good on you.
Thank you so much. I was actually surprised, and folks are just happy birthday. I'm like, okay, that feels good.
No, that's so. Thank you again. Whilst we're speaking of like your age, you know, I don't want to reveal your age, but let's just go back a little bit because I want to actually understand where this entrepreneurial spirit came from. I mean, you have a beautiful studio, you have a multimedia company that is massively successful. I'd love to go back to your childhood, right? Is this what 7-year-old Patrick wanted to do?
Yeah, I think not really. I mean, our life, I say that's what 7-year-old Patrick wanted to do. Patrick wanted to be a pilot when he was growing up. I mean, like every child looking at yourself like, yeah, I want to be a pilot. I want to grow to become a pilot. And as you grow older, you then realize that your dad wants you to be a mathematician, and then your mom wants you to be something else, and my brother wanted to be an engineer. So I ended up being an engineer. I'm literally an engineer, a telecommunication engineer and IT specialist. And yeah, man. So it's not a 7-year-old Patrick. Not at all.
It's quite a left turn from
completely.
And whilst we're just on that, that's very interesting. Why a pilot? Were you just fascinated by planes, or like just take me through that?
So I grew up in a neighborhood where a whole bunch of we had diversity in terms of races. I mean, and one pilot just was rich, man. And I wanted to be rich.
So was the money. It was.
So I was like, yo, I want to be a pilot like him, man. He looks so happy, beautiful family, and I was just impressed when I was a kid like that, And I just had a passion for flying, and I'm like, yeah, maybe I should become a pilot. So it wasn't really motivated by anything, but just like the lifestyle that they had, which was just much better than what we had before. Awesome. And I was like, yeah, I want to have that lifestyle.
And so then you obviously ended up being an engineer, so you studied engineering in varsity.
Correct.
And the path at that time was to go into corporate, right? Yeah. So which was your first company you worked at?
So obviously when I completed varsity, I started just Palm back then already, but I went into corporate as well, because my mom has always been telling us since we were growing up that if you want your own success, you have to build your own freedom, and building your own freedom meant you have to have your own platform, you have to have your own business. So I went into corporate really just to learn business more than work for someone. It's actually very strange because I never went to work in the morning and waking up and say, let me go earn a salary. I never went for a salary. I went to learn and understand when corporate makes a certain decision, why were they making that decision? When they have to do a tough, complicated decision on certain things, what was the thinking behind that? So when I apply that for my own business, at least I've been educated to that, and I wasn't, straight from varsity, I never wanted to do an MBA to understand business. I wanted to be practical business, and I went into corporate in that way. So I always had my business on the side when I was actually working in corporate. Wow. So first company I worked for was Altec. So I was a system engineer for Altec. You probably know Altec Netstar, Altec whatever. So I worked as a telecommunication system engineer for Altec, and then grew from there to become a sales director for a global telecommunication company.
Wow.
Yeah.
what a journey. So it's very interesting. So you started actually Just Palm, because that was actually going to be my next question. So fast forward to, when did the idea of Just Palm come? And before we go there, like the name itself, is there a pun intended, right? Like Palm, because it's going to be mobile and palmy, right?
Well, it's actually strange because it's a beautiful coincidence, because my name is Patrick Palmi. And I'm like, you know what? If I have to start a business, it's going to have to be my own name. It's just me.
Sure.
So I call it Just Palm. I removed the I. So that's just me. I created something. It was my craft, you know. And strange enough, because I went into mobile marketing, then people felt like Palm was because it was in palm of your hand. I'm like, beautiful coincidence. It works. My name works. And that's where you know, Just Palm started. Really, it was just my craft. It was my signature for the work that I'm doing. You know.
And then take me to the place where that idea was sparked, because generally you'll find with entrepreneurs, they see a need that needs to be solved, or there's a pain point, for example, and they probably say there should be a better way to do this, and then they start a business. So what was your story?
I think my upbringing has always been a space where I think my mom, again, has motivated me to be an entrepreneur since my very young age. She's a role model for me, because she started from ground as well, from nowhere, from our kitchen, where she used to cook you know, things for people, and then grew up to become one of the most reputable restaurants. So growing up, my mom constantly said to us that, hey, you know what, you got to build your own thing. So my background has always been, since I was a kid, I started, you know, basketball tournaments, you know, and you'll pay to come in. So I had a taste for business already at a very young age, looking at my mom, what she did. And then as I started growing up, then I realized that, okay, hang on, I'm an engineer now. Let me create platforms. And that's what I started, just creating platforms that I felt was cool, you know? Like, really, I was just creating platforms that I felt was cool. And, you know, through the experience, obviously, I basically failed a lot in creating platforms. And then one day, I created a platform that made sense to advertisers. And that's where mobile advertising started. But I never knew what mobile advertising was back then. I just created platforms, and you know, I felt it was cool to send a please call me from here to the Congo, man. I just created it. I'm like, yeah, you know, I see please call me here. How about I create a please call me that sends across Africa? Why not only here?
And this is very interesting. I mean, you're speaking on some of the platforms you created that failed, right? Would you like to share maybe one or two?
A lot. I think failures is something I'm very proud of, because without failure, you never will succeed, ever. And I think one of the biggest reasons why entrepreneurs are scared, or not even entrepreneurs, people are scared to get into entrepreneurship, is because of the failure rate. It's so high. It's so high. You will fail, and you will fail constantly. You know, you will get rejected constantly. I mean, my first product was a Please Call Me, international Please Call Me, which basically allowed you, because I mean, growing up again back in South Africa, you know, I wanted to send Please Call Me to my hometown, you know. And, you know, when I ran out of credit, I wanted to send Please Call Me to my mom and my dad to call me back. And there was no way I could do that. And sometimes you'll buzz and you don't even have airtime. So I created Please Call Me that allows people to send Please Call Me from here, South Africa, to anywhere in the world. And that one failed because I couldn't secure advertisers, you know, who would fund all those SMSs going around the world, and I couldn't get no one. And that failed. I mean, I've created, you know, ringtone-based platforms, which failed as well. You know, a whole bunch of platforms failed. A whole bunch of platforms failed. Just because, not because the platform failed, it's just because I couldn't secure, you know, the right funding to keep it moving forward. But that experience is painful for every entrepreneur, very painful.
And I mean, so you failed your way to obviously creating Just Palm, because you just were resilient and you didn't want to give up. So did you, how can I ask this question? Was Just Palm like a garage startup at the time, you know? And just take me through that, like.
So when I completed varsity, like I said, I went to corporate, but I had my side gig on the side. And the side gig was my very first business was building mobile applications, but I also started a Wi-Fi marketing business.
Okay.
And that actually, we were putting in Wi-Fi in buildings in Braamfontein area.
This is similar to Always On.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, but that was back then, before even Always On, man.
Time, yeah.
That was before them. I mean, I met the CEO after him, and I told him about my business model. So it was way before. I think the biggest concern is I was ahead of my time again, you know? And seeing this thing and saying, okay, you know what? Students are struggling with internet access. They have to go to student centers and computer centers to access internet. Let me bring internet to their homes. And I was amongst the very first people that was putting Wi-Fi in buildings. And that one as well failed again, you know? So it, you know, it failed because I had a whole bunch of business model that I was trying to adapt, and it never really worked again. But yeah, man. So I think the experience has taught me one thing, is that you gotta have a vision, and you gotta have to carry on pushing forward, irrespective of how many times you really fail.
I always ask entrepreneurs this, and I love the story. So when you have created Just Palm, tell me about the experience of your first customer, you know? What was the pitch?
Oh my goodness.
And how did you get them to actually part with their money to say, here you go, I'm giving this to you?
That's difficult. But it has a certain pleasure. I mean, when we put up that Wi-Fi, the very first client that walked down to the security guard to ask for the Wi-Fi password, that client was like, I think it was 30 Rand. Yo, I was the happiest dude, man. I'm like, wow, I built this thing and at 30 Rand. It wasn't a lot, but it was really, really, you know, rewarding to see someone walking down and taking your product forward, you know? And, you know, I was then looking at my wife, I'm like, this person's probably gonna complain. Because I don't know, I haven't tested it fully. But they never complained. And then more and more people then started buying this prepaid Wi-Fi code, you know. But that's the very first clients. I mean,
and was this on the Wi-Fi business?
It was on the Wi-Fi business.
And then if you go to Just Palm, when you created the mobile marketing business, which was your first solution, right?
Yeah.
To this lovely company you have. And who was your first company to actually pitch the mobile marketing, if you can remember?
So I can't say that publicly.
Okay, no, fair enough.
It's a global FMCG company.
Sure.
So, you know, when I created this sponsored call platform, it was allowing people that had no airtime to call their friends for free. They, you know, if you don't have data, if you don't have airtime on your phone, instead of please calling someone else, you could just dial the string and enter the friend's number. Instead of please call me, it will call you, but you have to listen to a short advertisement before the call get connected. And that literally was the first point of growth. Wow. Because that's when I got my first corporate clients. And that paycheck was, I was literally broke, man. And then that paycheck from corporate, like, wow, wow, is this real? You know, it is real. So that breakthrough for the very first FMCG corporate was the moment where I realized that there was a real business behind all the things that I've been building, you know. Oh. And then from there, we started getting a lot of other food corporate business, a lot of other, financial services companies. And that's where now we stabilized the business to become a mobile advertising business back then. Wow. But it was really that, that moment where, like, wow, I just created something that people are buying, man.
And when I was actually looking through, I mean, the sponsored calling, sponsored calls, and the Mbonga chatbot as well, which he created, which is phenomenal to me. It, still to this day, it seems like a great idea,
Thank you.
So are those still around? Because clearly it was successful. Can you just chat me through that? Like,
so it is still around. It's just that we keep evolving with products and services that we look at and say, can we do better? So it is still there. It is just getting better and better and better. We then decided about 3 years ago to launch the TV platform, Palm TV. And behind Palm TV, there's a lot of other digital services which includes the sponsored call and the other service that brands can tap onto as well.
Which
So
is
we've never taken them away. It's just that we now are very heavy on the television business. But behind the television business, a whole bunch of digital services that we're offering as a platform. Yeah.
Which is actually a very nice segue into Palm 2.0, which
Exactly.
is now obviously Palm TV. So what led you onto this journey? Because it seems to me that you're always ahead of your time,
Correct.
which obviously has pros and cons. But what led to you actually now creating Palm TV?
I think and you are the very first person I'm saying that publicly now. The reason is simple. It's because being in the digital business for, I think, over 5-6 years before, I realized that a lot of campaigns were failing because media wasn't the right way. It wasn't the media to push the campaign wasn't done properly. And, you can explain it to many people as much as you can, but it's always a complex discussion to have with clients regarding what media do you select to push your brand forward. And then we decided to create our own media platform and say, you know what, we with the digital experience we have, we think we understand how we could do it better and create a better media platform to push brands forward to viewers and customers. And that's why we created Palm TV. Back in the days, 3 years ago when I was creating it, it wasn't really making sense to a lot of people. Again, as always, you're always ahead of your time and you're preaching something that people go like, what is that?
Yeah.
But 3 years down the road from just Palm TV to now Palm TV, folks now understand, the value of digital platforms, and the lockdown has just accelerated the use of digital platforms, and now we're making sense to people.
And let me sneak in a question here. I mean, you're mentioning your media was not being done right, So what was your frustration in terms of how media was done, especially with brands or like the media houses or the media platform?
I think the complexity of digital is it's very it evolves way too quick, and when it evolves too quick, people are always behind with how can I do it better, and once someone has a formula, they prefer that formula, and even that formula that doesn't work, I'm like, yeah, we've done it before, it works, and the result of that is you basically have a failed campaign all the time. So for me, it's all about evolving and controlling the value chain from end to end, from the digital service that we're offering all the way to the media. We control it from end to end, and we're able to deliver the best service to clients because we control the value chain. Simple as that.
Wow. So coming to your business model, right? So, and I wanted to ask, that's what I was asking about the sponsored calls and the mobile chatbot. You have that, that's still running, which is obviously bringing in revenue. Coming to Palm TV, and correct me if I'm wrong as well, you have different streams. So number one, you allow influencers to host podcasts, whether it's video or audio. And number two, you also provide a platform for advertisers since you're a media house.
Correct.
And number three, you have virtual events for corporates, or if influencer wants to have something virtual as well, and sell online. From
and
those,
the store and the online store. Online store.
Yes, and the online store. Wow.
It's the online store.
Which is great because, you're hedging your bets. From those five, and obviously for now, it could change in the future. Which would you say is growing the most for you and showing the most potential?
I think all of them. All of them. And the strategic decision to go into the digital TV business is because you're becoming a media powerhouse. So you are facing directly the viewer. Back in the days when we were offering digital services, we were behind a brand that will put the brand forward to the viewers or to the customers or to the consumer. We are now going straight to the viewer and to the consumer and saying, hey, here we are, which makes it even more exciting. So all the product that we sell is now facing directly the viewer and the customer, which is even better for us. Back in the days, and that's one of the reasons why we also got motivated to do that, is because we would always be the behind the scene kind of people. And people don't even know that it was you that designed that. Now that we are facing the viewer and the customer and the consumer, we actually can tell them that it is our brand that actually have released this Mbongo chat bots, and there's WhatsApp campaign that you are using. So it's a whole bunch of reasons why we want it to be consumer facing. So all the products are doing very, very well. Obviously, it has a growth. You can't run away from the fact that it takes time. In business, I've learned the painful way that whatever you do takes time. And you can't. Even if you ever want to have a child today, you still have to wait 9 months. Yeah. You can't speed it up, right?
That's true.
And in business, it's the same rule as well. It will still take time, but you'll eventually get it.
And I mean, speaking on your successful business, you're reaching more than 20 million people.
Correct.
How long did it take? That's 20 million, by the way. Almost half of the South African population. How long did it take you to actually get to that level?
3 years. 3 years. Why? Because look, I mean, the way we grew the business is because we understand how audience is basically built, right? In the sense that today, my question has always been to people, why do I need to build an audience when there is already audience everywhere? My question is, if today, a creator already has 10 million fans, why would I want to compete with that creator? Why don't I work with that creator and bring him on my platform? And therefore we're sharing audiences. If there's already a billboard in Sandton Mall, why would I want to put another billboard?
Yeah.
I can tap onto that audience that they already have, and they still are my audience. And that's where we started building and growing our audience in partnership with a whole bunch of partners, and then growing it even to the global stage. We are in New York as well, so we can tap into the US market now. And the nice thing about digital is audiences everywhere, man, on digital platforms.
Yeah.
Audiences are everywhere.
And which is, it's almost like you're reading my mind, which is a lovely segue again to my next question. So when I was just doing my research, snooping around your sites, watching videos.
He's doing good research.
Yeah. I'd love to zoom in terms of and we were speaking offline about this. If I'm an influencer as Mnotho and I have 50,000 plus followers, right? And I want to come to Palm TV, can you tell me what's the benefit, number one, for me as the influencer? What's the benefit for Palm TV? Correct. And then what's the benefit for the advertiser as well?
Lovely. So the benefit for the influencer is that influencers usually are good creators, but they're not good business people. They're very good at creating their content and getting it trending and getting it a high viewership. But ask them business rules, they have no kicking clue about negotiating a good deal with any brand person. So we are helping them channel their energy in letting it be creators and let us do the business side of it, which means bringing in advertiser, bringing in merchandiser, bringing in opportunity to sell other services with the content they're creating. So for them, it's because they don't have necessarily the business rule of how do you monetize your thing to the next level and make yourself a millionaire, by the way. For the advertiser, they're struggling constantly in terms of how am I going to speak to an audience in the most genuine way. Today, advertising is all about, I'm the best, I sell the best food, I sell the best shampoo, I sell the best. No one ever listened to that anymore. Now it's all about how do I interact with the viewer and really make them feel that I am part of you and I understand you, by the way. For your return on investment to be bigger, you need to have a conversation now with people. And I think social media just made it really even quicker for brands to now tap onto it. But the problem is creativity from brands, it's still very much of advertising to the people, and people don't want to be advertised to. So the creator economy enables that brands to have a voice that is reliable to the viewer to say, look, you know what? I'm honest here, and I think here's an honest review. Here's me, a real person, Patrick, that just used this deal and it works, and a lot more people believe in that. So the creator economy for brands is really to have an honest voice in the market through the lens of people that people love already. Okay. Now that's for brands and advertisers. I spoke about influencer.
Brands and now also Palm TV.
So Palm TV is basically the platform. I mean, for me, it's all about putting everyone together in one place and get the whole system to work in favor of everyone. We just make sure that we package it properly, we promote it well, we make sure that the creator is happy, the brands are happy, and we have a beautiful synergy with the viewer who's enjoying as well the product that is really genuine and really working in the favor.
And it's very interesting. It seems to me like, yes, you are a media company, but you're also bordering on the line of technology.
Definitely.
And please correct me if I'm wrong. It's almost like you're becoming an Uber for media, where you're connecting rights influencers and advertisers as well, and then bring them into this one platform.
I think the future is that, right? That's the future. Today, Airbnb owns no platform, no property.
Yeah,
but they are the biggest property.
hotel chain. Yeah,
Uber doesn't own any car, and then here we go. They own the biggest fleet. So why would I want to own the creator? Why do I want to own things? I mean, it's all virtual now, right?
Yeah.
So we can.
Well, my last question, just on Palm TV, and please, for the viewers out there, listeners, please go and check it out. They have amazing guests. I don't want to actually mention some of the guests. You can go and look for yourself, because I don't want to offend people. Like, no, you didn't mention me. But you have rock star guests that come. I'd love to know, how did you build this network? Like for a kid just starting out, and I want to have a podcast. I want to have these guests that can share, drop pearls of wisdom, etc. Like, how do you get these rock star guests onto your show?
Look, I mean, the nice thing about an interview is that everyone wants to have one, right?
Yeah. That's true.
Everyone wants to have one. I mean, yesterday I had the Minister of Media and Communication from the DRC who joined me on the stream, and we have a whole bunch of even political leaders and business leaders. I think the platform is reliable. The platform has built over time a little bit of a name and a reputation for being a quality platform for many players. So let it be a massive influencer or a celebrity or a business leader. The platform is just reliable, and we're growing it and then building it to the level where we take over Africa across the whole continent, really.
Lovely.
So the platform is just good for them. I think they love it. I mean, they love it.
Let me also just sneak in one last question. Do you still remember your first guest and your first look, you seem like a very charismatic person, so I don't think being in front of the camera.
My first guest?
Yeah, do you
or
still
my first
remember?
podcaster?
The first guest you interviewed. Do you still remember that?
Yo, who was that again? Sure, I've seen too many people.
Okay. No, that's fine.
The first I must say, the first podcaster that had done a beautiful impact was my friend Vusita Mbekwayo. I think I always take my head out to my friend. He's been supporting the platform from day zero when we were not making sense to a lot of people. He came on board and really pushed our brand forward. And Vusi, I owe you for that, right? So recently, like Sizwe joined as well. Carpo joined. A whole bunch of celebrities, influencers are now coming on the platform. Actually, we have a lot more celebrities podcasts that are coming on the platform. You will see the release. So it's definitely something that people are now looking forward to, really.
Well. So that's it from me, from a Palm TV point of view. But I'd love to go into my favorite part of the show, of Bumped Into, where we get personal.
Yeah.
It's more of I love how you're saying it. It's not going to be that deep. Don't worry, Patrick.
It is going to be deep.
It's more around just having DMCs, right?
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions, about 6 or 7, just to understand you, the man who built this lovely, successful company.
Yeah.
Please don't be afraid.
I am not.
My first question would be, leading on from the lovely guests you've actually had, the rock star, I'm sure they've shared pearls of wisdom, shared nuggets here and there, lots of insights as well. What are some of the lessons that have stuck with you from the guests you've actually interviewed?
I think everyone repeats the same thing. And if I've one day I sat down and I was just watching all the episodes of Digital Hustler, my own podcast. They keep repeating the same thing. Failure is going to happen. You have to have the guts to start something and accept the fact that you will fail, but you have to still move forward. That everyone says that, from the biggest business person all the way to an average business person that just started recently. Secondly is you have to stay stay on track, have a vision, have a clear vision. And vision is not necessarily understood by people, by the way. That's why God put it on you. You know? Otherwise, he was going to seed it on everybody else. But if he seeded vision on you, you have to keep it really tight in your chest and just move forward, even if you're getting rejection and all kind of stuff. So those are usually the biggest lesson that I've picked up. And I think even if I interview Bill Gates, which actually I want to interview you, Bill Gates, he's going to say the same thing. You know, it's all about resilience. It's all about having a vision and keep moving forward with it.
And Patrick, why do you think we're scared of failure?
I think it's human nature, because when we were growing up, I think nature and I think school made it worst.
Sure.
Because when you failed in school, you were whipped. In African culture. My culture, you went home, your mom looks at you and give you a little bit of thing, you know? And that actually created a fear in people of failure. If the school system was all about saying, you know, hey, you know what? Here's a lesson, you fail, but hey, you know what? Stand up and try again. And encouraging the kid to try again, I think you will have another culture in you, which is contrary to what we're seeing right now. And also, secondly, we are so much into the space of wanting to win. You know, that I'm like, oh, if I don't win. But if you remove that, you know, you remove the fact that I'm going to fail. I know I will fail. I always say, start in mind with the thinking of, I am going to fail and I am willing to fail. Then go for it
and learn from
because you will fail. Then you're fine with it. When I felt like, oops, okay, that was failure. And another one, I always say, write it down.
Yeah.
You know what? We don't document our failures, and hence you fall back again onto it. You keep on failing.
It's very interesting. I mean, I read an article in terms of failure, in terms of, look, fail often and fail fast. I mean, that's been repeated so many times. Because once you fail and you document and you learn, then you know never to do that again. You know, so you keep on going down the ladder. So if you had 100 failures, now you have 99.
That's it.
And you keep on going.
That's it. I think that's actually the formula of success.
Sure.
Is have those 99, 100 failures, take down one, until you become very successful. It takes time. You can't run away from painful failures. I mean, losing money, losing good employees, losing good business partners. I mean, those are very painful failures, right? Very painful, but you gotta go through it. You have to go through it.
Speaking of schools, I mean, you said it starts at a very young age. It's actually one of the questions I had, and you can't mention failure now. But what's the one thing that you think should be taught in schools that isn't?
I think I'm teaching my own child entrepreneurship from a very young age. My son is already starting to open his own online store.
Oh, wow.
He's already
And how old is he?
He's 10 years old. He's turning 10 next year, so he's 9 years old now.
Wow.
My little daughter is 5 years old. I'm already also training her to entrepreneurship. I think it's at a very young age that you see in your child the possibility of, hey, you know what? Here's a chance for you to succeed, and you're gonna have to take it. You are going to fail, by the way. So when he comes back to me and say, yeah, I didn't do it, I'm like, that's nature, man. Stand up and try again. You know? So I think we need to teach, we really need, especially the African child. My biggest motivation, why I do what I do, it's because I want to believe that African children can do better than what we're doing now. Politics is failing us.
Yeah.
The system is against us. You know, the world is not in favor of us. Now, what are we going to do? You know, we're not going to wait for the world to accept us.
Yeah.
We're going to have to go to the world. We're going to have to prove to the world that we can. So what I do is really a motivation to say to another African child, hashtag it is possible. And all my hashtag always say African child, it is possible. Because I believe it is possible. We got to teach our children from a very young age that it is possible. And you are going to fail, but it is possible. Keep doing it well. Improve. Write it down. Keep on saying, oh, I failed on that 100. Let me take that one down.
Sure.
And then keep doing it. And then you'll become very successful.
And hopefully, I mean, they can become the next generation to lead us.
Exactly.
You know? Speaking of leaders. You've met really powerful, inspirational people.
Yeah.
So I guess you also well equipped to answer this question. What's the one characteristic you think every leader should possess?
I think they have resilience. They have thick skin, very, very thick skin. And some people might confuse that with arrogance. You might confuse that with they have no hearts. Some people would say they're heartless, but they very much have thick skin.
Sure.
And I think experiences really, taught them to be resilient and grow that in themselves, because the world is never going to be in favor of you. Never.
Lovely.
Never.
Okay, just taking a quick left turn. I know you're married, you have kids. So please, I hope your kids are not going to be watching this. I'd love to know. I mean, you obviously, before you got married, you had girlfriends. I'd love to know, what have your exes misunderstood about you?
I think the hard work side.
Okay.
I think you put in, when you have a mandate like mine, you put in so much effort into the craft that sometimes you overlook other things, and you kind of so much focus on your efforts to build the craft to the next level that you are not necessarily available. And that's just one thing that I feel. And I think since varsity, I've always dedicated myself to hard work. And my mom is the one that just got me to become like that, we really put a lot of hours in the craft. Let it be when we were in school or, in business, we spent a lot of hours on the craft itself.
Well, speaking of obviously hard work, and you've been speaking, the theme around failure. Can you tell me about a time where you learned the lesson the hard way?
Every day. I learn every day. It never stops, man. It never stops. I think, the amount of learning the hard way is every single day.
Is there a story that comes to mind, maybe?
Look, the recent one. Obviously, it's internal stories, but
sure.
You know what? There is seasons where you look at, your business and you're like, you know what? I actually can do all this myself. But you gotta have people, right?
Yeah.
I think the most difficult side, of a digital person like me is, computers can do that.
Yeah.
Humans have feelings. So you have to understand humans. And you get to a point where you're like, okay, I'm a human being as well, and you're working with humans.
Sure.
And that's lessons that you learn every single day. How to work with people. Simple as that.
2 more questions, because I know you're a very busy man. Second to last question. In your life, right, and obviously there's a lot going on, you're a hard worker. Is there something essential that you're under-investing in?
I'm under-investing in cryptocurrency.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Why?
I think crypto is a space that we are going to go aggressively in the market, very, very aggressively, and we yet to invest a lot of time and efforts to build our crypto capabilities, because whether you like it or not, you can't fight innovation.
Sure.
The same way Palm TV never made sense for 3.5 years or 5 years.
Yeah.
Now it's starting to make sense. Crypto is also not making sense to people, but you gotta have to invest in crypto. In a way or another, you have to figure it out. And I think that's where, we are going to put a lot of energy right after we've stabilized Palm TV. And
you can answer this yes or no, but something in your personal life that you might be under investing in, maybe if it's habits or
sports.
Or you should be playing more sports?
Playing more sports?
Serious?
Yeah. I think that that's the tough thing of being too much on the craft, is you forget yourself as well sometimes.
Okay.
Meditation is very important. Sports is very key, because what's the point of building wealth and then losing your health, right? Yeah. So you have to balance the two, and a lot of time we don't look after our health.
100%.
We look at it.
And there's no point in being the richest man in the graveyard, right?
Exactly. Correct.
Lovely. I'd love to know, as my last question, because you're very passionate about Africa and obviously your mission and what you're building here.
Yeah.
What is your hope for Africa?
I'm hoping that Africa becomes as good as the rest of the developed world. This is really, really my belief. I want to see more African kids doing very well compared to the rest of the world. We are next to zero, man. I mean, compare a child in China today compared to a child here in Africa. You can't even balance that. You know, our economy is messed up.
Sure.
Our education system is broken. Today here in South Africa, with 30%, you can pass. Is it 30 or 40%?
That's 30.
You can pass.
Yeah.
So you know, looking at the future, what do you think is going to happen when that Chinese child, who's now a leader in China, and our African child is a leader in Africa? What is going to happen then? What are the chances they're not going to come over Africa and take over Africa because we are less educated than their own child? It's already happening now. So if we don't level up, if we don't push ourselves forward, we are going to be a continent occupied by other people forever. You know, and we'll never be proud of our own culture. So we need to protect ourselves. And the only way to start that is by enabling more African child to get more educated, more opportunities for themselves to grow to the global stage and expose themselves to the global stage. We have to do that.
Well, Patrick, it's been a pleasure. I don't want to take up too much more of your time because I can ask questions as a child growing up, you know. But hopefully we can do this again in a couple of years as you're growing. I'm so interested to see how you grow this.
Thank you.
And obviously I know you want to be famous for the right reasons as well, so I can tell my kids I interviewed them. There you go. You know, thank you very much. I mean, from the bottom of my heart, I really appreciate you taking the time, and I love what you're doing here.
Thank you.
And I'm always going to be rooting for you.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you. And
we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thanks for visiting us, by the way.
No, of course, of course.
It's a great pleasure.
And please take care of yourself.
I can't wait to have your podcast here, by the way.
Hey, we'll put it out there in
Public
the universe.
offer.
No, thank you very much, sir.
It's a pleasure, man.
No, cool.
Thank you.